CAPSI podcast series, Conversations on African Philanthropy.
Hello, my name is Masego Madzwamuse. I am the host of the Adoye podcast series, season 2, that is part of our 2026 gathering, which is held in partnership with the Nawi Collective and the Center of African Philanthropy and Social Investment under the Adoye program. And we're bringing together a group of fabulous women, Pan-African feminists, 30 women who have come together for this writing retreat. And we are curating a space that recognizes writing as political work, storytelling as a site of healing, and community as essential to sustaining feminist thought and creativity on the continent. And through the podcast, you'll get to hear about the incredible work that the individuals who are part and who are participating in this year's retreat are involved in. Hello and welcome again to Adoye podcast series, season 2. And today I am really honored to have a friend and a sister of mine in conversation. And I will give her an opportunity to introduce herself. Lebohang, do you care to introduce yourself to our listeners by just sharing with us who you are and whose you are?
Thank you, Masego. Thanks for the invitation. Thank you for curating this beautiful piece of heaven for all of us. And I think who am I at the moment is somebody who's in deep appreciation, in deep gratitude, and just in awe of the space. Who am I as a daughter of Africa, a daughter of Azania, a daughter of struggle, and a woman on a mission. I think of myself as a freedom thinker, a freedom doer, a runner, a hiker, all the usual friend, mother, sister, daughter. But I think at the core of that is also a daughter of God and a person who's manifesting who God has called me to be in different ways. And a slight rabble rouser, some might say. Whose am I? Oh, I think I'm the child of destiny. I'm the child of liberation. So I'm the child of people who met on the run, like many of us, many people of a particular generation, and who have imbued in me a sense of unfinishedness, a project that needs to be completed, that needs to be taken further. And I think a child of many places and a child of many people and many villages like this one.
A child of many places, our very own Dr. Lebohang Liepollo Pheko, doctor with emphasis. And liberation is like such a key theme that has been coming out of this retreat, with many stories that are excavating the unfinished story of liberation, the continuity of it. And I know the work that you are very passionate about is one that is at the interface of memory and history.
Yes.
But before we get to it, because I suspect that's where we're going to be spending a lot of our conversation, is you are accomplished, you are a writer, you have been a writer for most of your life. And I must add, a brilliant one, it is.
Thank you.
What is it that, what made you lean into the invitation to join this retreat? And has there been any moments in the retreat where you've sat back and you've had this aha moment? This is why, over and over again, maybe.
So one of the currencies that many people, especially Black women, African women, lack, including those who are ostensibly accomplished, is that in the accomplishment, you have a deficit of time. You have a deficit of respite. You have a deficit of spaciousness. And this was one of the first times in a long time that I've been able to find the spaciousness. I don't even want to call it a luxury, the gift, the spaciousness, the expansiveness to be able to sit still with my thoughts, with my ideas, with my crazy rumblings and mutterings, with my discomforts, and arrange them into sometimes disorderly, sometimes frantic, but importantly, to arrange them, to note them, to put them on paper. And that is the thing that I think after years of working, 25 years in the field, that one hasn't had the opportunity to do. You might grab a weekend here, you might grab a holiday there, you might find a moment perhaps late in the night when the ideas, they come at you, they pursue you, they torment you. But the opportunity of really leaning into that torment and leaning into those flames is curtailed by the fact that at 7 a.m., you've got to get up and go to your day job, and you have to calm those voices, those restless voices, and here the restlessness has space to emerge.
Because the stories refuse to die.
They sure do.
They refuse to die.
They sure do.
And that takes me into one story that I know for you refuses to die. And this is the important work of memory.
Yeah.
Excavating memory.
Yeah.
Journeying with it, sitting with it, writing truths to it. And you've been doing and thinking for a long time about this work that is at the interface of memory and history. Could you share with us a little bit more what that is, what it looks like for you, and what questions you're sitting with?
So one of my many diseases and one of the many things that I wrestle with in the twilight hours is what it means to remember stories, liberations, the meanings and the myths that we create around nations. And in so doing, we create around ourselves, because the myths are part of the flags that we stand under as subjects of these so-called independent states. And in creating those myths, there are many sacrifices. And those sacrifice zones are the voices of those who have been vanquished. Those sacrifice zones are the libraries of memory that are held by community members, by our family members. And those sacrifice zones also include the negotiated spaces where discomfort of the state doesn't want to take us. And some of those are to do with external interests, what will capital say, what will investors say, why if people become too angry, if the dissonance that they're dealing with and that they're wrestling with begins to erupt, often rightly so. It's very much what will the neighbors say. It's also to do with the ways in which memory has become monopolized. So this cult of mono-memory, it's the single figure. It's the one person.
The single event.
It's the big man. It's June 16th as though it happened spontaneously, yet it was planned for months in advance, by the way. And it didn't only happen in Soweto. There were actually solidarity insurrections across the country, and I've had the opportunity in this work to speak to people who have been frontline in these events. So, the opportunity to talk to people who were at the University of, at the time, TEF, right? Who came on this June bus, if we can use a metaphor, that it was almost a train that was moving across the country. And they climbed on it early, about weeks earlier. So by the time they got to Soweto, this was a movement that had already built momentum. So this idea that it's It's a one place. It's Morris Isaacson High School. It's Hector Peterson. And my other contention with that is then we then turn people and events into mascots of pain, and we singularize that pain. We fetishize it. We don't stare at it, and we don't we don't unpack it meaningfully. And having engaged with some of the pain of the Peterson family, how they feel incredibly extracted. They feel as though they have been utilized ruthlessly by the post-1994 government, and that the memory, the blood of their brother, their son, has just become fodder.
Yeah.
In the post-1994 narrative, which has no meaning. It's flat.
Yeah.
It's like looking at the Mona Lisa, that picture that we see of his dying form. I think the other pain of that is that what that does is, what this work encourages us to do is to humanize those memories, is to humanize that boy who's being carried, is to humanize the people around him. And what I think many states do, many countries do, is, of course, you want to write yourself as the victor. That is also this masculine impulse of the single narrative, the big man, but also who is the authorizing voice. And I think I'm hoping that this piece of work disrupts the authorizing voice. I've written in some of my previous work about how memory has become vandalized. And I describe it, these sorts of very frankly cheap, sensationalized, salacious moments of recollection, like June 16th, and reducing that to Youth Day, depoliticizing it.
And to situate it for our other listeners who are outside of South Africa.
So June 16th is represents the Soweto uprisings of 1976, which perhaps in tandem with the Sharpeville massacre of 1960, 16 years before, was one of the huge points of rupture.
Yes.
In South Africa, and I think across the continent and globally. It again reminded the world of the egregious inhumanity that was being meted out on what was essentially a settler colonial state.
Yes. And what is exciting about your work, Lebohang, is in lifting these stories and the memory, doing the memory work, is you are seeking out voices that are not in the dominant narrative and are not part of the dominant discourse.
Sure.
Do you care to, you do paint the picture for us around the June 16 and where you've gone to be able to speak to other people who were part of the events before the moment in Soweto. But who else are you speaking to, and where are these conversations taking place? Who are we looking at? What forms of
archiving?
What forms of archiving are you
So
exploring?
I've had the opportunity to speak to, and it's over years, So I have spoken to students in the wake of the Fees Must Fall movement to understand where they situated themselves in that moment. I have spoken to people who were part of the June 16th, of course. My elders, my political elder sisters. I have premised and I have privileged women's voices, Black women's voices, because in the shadows, that's a relegation. Theirs are the largest shadows, right?
Yeah.
I have spoken to one or two political scientists, right?
Yeah.
Who have given me, whose theory I have leaned on to understand what it is about party politics that lends itself to a particular kind of state curation and a particularly narrow state curation, almost bordering on propaganda, right? And on whose voices are the most authentic. And I've even spoken to a few people in the diaspora, people in the heritage sector, and leaned on some of their own interesting impressions of how heritage is a living, breathing organism, where we situate ourselves in that. So one of the chapters and one of the threads through the book is also where do we institutionalize memory and memories,
Yes.
Masego.
Yes.
What does democratized memory look like if it isn't flattened inside the Apartheid Museum or the Imperial War Museum in the United Kingdom, or if it's not flattened at Freedom Park or in Heroes Acre? I mean, most countries have something like a Heroes Acre.
Yeah.
And I think the general sentiment has been that for every hero who's named, there are dozens who remain nameless.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. And the relegation is systemic, right? I think that's why your work is important. Is you look at what has happened in history, but you're also situating how the continuation in contemporary times. The example you give with Fees Must Fall. I am dying to hear you read some of your work. Not to mention that I am itching and waiting for the book.
Me too. Me too, waiting for the book.
Shall we have a reading?
Let's have a reading. So what I'll do is I will read an excerpt, firstly to frame this book project, to frame its why I think it's important.
Yes.
I think so. What it briefly interrogates, and then I'll go to a passage which is an imagined dialogue
Yes.
between two women, and we will talk about who the women are after I've done the reading.
Yeah.
So in other words, this book interrogates post-liberation states, particularly South Africa, how they produce, how they police, and how they profit from forgeries of memory, deliberate, bad faith constructions of the past that consolidate political authority while erasing plural, feminist, and dissident liberation histories. It's the memory of conveniences.
Oh.
Drawing on memory studies, Pan-Africanist thought, historiography, and comparative global cases, this book advances democratized memory as an ethical, political, and reparative practice. It's not only diagnostic, it's generative. It seeks to reclaim memory as a living commons rather than a state archive, and to recenter justice, plurality, and African personhood in how the past is remembered, taught, and institutionalized. It's a critical intervention in memory, liberation, and decolonial studies because it suggests that memory is not passive. It's not a passive record of the past, but it's a political practice through which power is exercised, legitimacy is secured, and dissent is managed. Now I'd like to hop
So the dialogue.
to the dialogue, and I'll leave it to the viewers and the listeners, perhaps, to reimagine for themselves who this could be. They sit across from one another, not in a room that can be named. It is not Brandfoot, nor is it Kimberley, not the places that swallowed them and called it distance. It is a space that banishment creates when it stretches time thin enough for recognition. Zondeni speaks first, though her voice is low. They thought if they moved us far enough, we would become quiet. Nomzamo does not answer immediately. She knows this language, distance as discipline, geography as punishment. They thought the same of me, she says finally. The isolation would make me smaller, that I would learn how to behave. Zondeni nods. She has learned that behavior is a demand placed on women long before it is enforced by law. They wanted me to disappear politely, Zondeni says, to wait, to endure, to be grateful for survival. Nomzama exhales, sharp but contained. They wanted me to forgive without being asked what was taken. There's no need to name husbands here. They hover without introduction. Men whose names became clauses, symbols, myths, statues. Men whose absences became the architecture of these women's lives. What matters is not who they were married to, but what banishment demands of them. They did not banish us because we were wives, Zondeni says. They banished us because we refused to collapse. Then I hop to further on towards the end, where they say, this is how power works, Zondeni says. It teaches women to disappear alone. They sit with this truth. It does not need embellishment. But memory, Nomzamo says, slowly, does not belong to them. Zondeni meets her gaze. No, she says. Memory belongs to those who survived what was never meant to be recorded. They do not embrace. This is not that kind of story. Instead, they sit in the knowledge that banishment failed. Not because it did not wound them, but because it did not make them forget who they were. Somewhere beyond this page, beyond the archive, beyond the state, memory listens. Yeah. And just an addendum, they never met like this. History did not allow it, but memory does.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That dialogue right there challenges memory as convenience. And like you said, we will leave it to the listeners and the viewers to figure out, to take that dialogue further, to work out who that dialogue was between.
And to wait for the book.
And to wait for the book. And the rain, just as you finished reading it, it started raining again. So you do know that book is blessed. Lebohang, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Masego.
We look forward to the book. This has been great, and we are so honored that you could join us at this retreat.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Lebohang Liepollo Pheko in conversation with me, and my name is Masego Madzwamuse. And once again, this is the Adoye podcast series brought to you by the Nawi Collective and CAPSI at the Wits University as part of the African Women's Writers Circle. See you next time.
You've been listening to the CAPSI podcast series, Conversations on African Philanthropy.